Hello again, friends, and welcome to the 10th in a series of interviews I have done with my dear friend and partner and mentor and teacher, Tomei. Welcome yet again.
Thanks. Thanks again.
Tonight, we're going to focus more specifically and in more detail around the general topic of healing, what that means, how that applies to what you can do in terms of your own inner development. And I'm eager to hear Tomei's perspective on it. And please proceed, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody once again. And for those for the first time, welcome to you as well. Hopefully tonight you'll gain a little something that might assist you on your journey. Um, and we're talking about healing. And of course, the first thing that comes to most people's minds when we're talking about healing is physical healing. But we're really talking about overall healing, a healing of balance, a healing within all three bodies of yourself, even your energetic body. And I'll get into that in just a little bit. But the first thing that we would probably want to share here is that each one of us has the ability to heal ourselves in whatever capacity that might be. We innately have a divine spark within our heart space that connects us to all consciousness, all things. And we've done a podcast already uh, on uh, divine divine consciousness, you might say, or the infinite abundance and possibilities that are in consciousness and in the universe that we all can tap into. And within in that consciousness is a feeling, and I'm going to say it's a feeling, an experience of, let's just say, your physical body being at the uh, highest place it could function at, um, the cells being at their most benevolent place, the inner body functioning at its highest level, your neurological system functioning at its highest level, your nervous system, your blood, your um, any parts of your skin, for instance. It covers all parts of your physical body, but it also covers parts of your emotional body and your mental body. So the possibilities, infinite possibilities, I should say, that are available to us are feelings. It's not a definition. It's not a thinking. It is a feeling, a sensing of, say, feeling your best. You know, all of you I
I'm
know.
out, Tomei. Somebody's at the door. Hang on. We'll have.
So we were sharing with you the understandings that within infinite abundance, infinite possibility, that there are sensations and feelings, experiences of various physical attributes that we have within our bodies. So once again, covering the whole body itself, the physical body, because as we all know, there are times when we feel really good. You know, you kind of get in the zone, for instance. There are times when you feel really bad, when you might feel depressed or um, feel a heaviness to yourself, or you have aches and pains, or and when we have aches and pains, our mind likes to take us into this place of like, well, there must be something wrong. Um, and so you get into this story about what's wrong, and you find out it's just a headache, because you ate too much a little while ago or something like that. But what I'm just sharing with you is we all have the opportunity to feel different times, different ways. That you might say is an infinite amount of possibilities, infinite amount of ways of sensing and feeling your own physical body in certain situations. I would suggest to you that every morning you wake up, you have a different feeling of yourself. I would say there is not one morning that's the same as the other. That when you wake up after being in your dream state, you're coming into the world again, renewed in some respect, but you are also presenting yourself to the world as a new person. And there's different feelings in that. There's different ways of, of looking at, say, the dreams you might have that might be giving you different sensations as well. You might open your eyes and wake up and see that it's really bright out, or you might see it's raining, or you can hear the storm, or there's all different kinds of things. All, again, infinite possibilities. And with that, our bodies react physically, but they also react emotionally. They get emotional triggers that you're holding on to. They also react from a mental aspect, which can go into, again, stories about what's going on. Mental aspects of remembering what it was like to be a kid when you were, listening to a rainstorm, or, any kind of infinite possibilities mentally as well. So as you're getting a grasp here, what I'm trying to share with you is that from moment to moment, our bodies change. And sometimes in fact, probably most of the time, a lot of us aren't even aware of our bodies changing. We just kind of go on our way, and in unconsciousness, we are not cued in to what actually is happening in the moment. So tying this into healing says that if I am going to, say, attempt to shift my physical body, my mental body, my emotional body, I must be present. I must be aware of what's going on for my body. If I am not, very little chance that I can shift it at all. If I'm off thinking about something else and I'm saying, well, no, I want to change this, and then I go think about something else, you're not present in the moment to be able to accept the possible energies that might come in that you're calling on to assist you to shift what's going on mentally, physically, or emotionally in your body. So this gets back to some of the other podcasts. And why it does is because if I haven't cleared out my program or my ego or the way I see life, and stay in that box, if I don't clear all that out to open myself to a newness, to other experiences, other possibilities, infinite amount of possibilities, infinite amount of sensing, infinite amount of abundance, if I'm stuck in only one way of looking at life, chances of healing yourself is pretty nil. So it takes a lot of work, as we've discussed before, to get ourselves in the position to be able to heal ourselves. We're not talking about healing anybody else here. We're talking about healing ourselves. To be able to heal yourself takes a lot of work. And so I have to have a lot of faith in myself that actually I do hold the gifts that are in my heart space to be able to even to start this process. I have to know my ego. I have to know when my ego, my mind, my program is coming in to stop my process. Well, this, lines like, oh, this is crazy. What are you doing? This, you can't do this. Look at the judgment you just made 10 minutes ago. You just judged something 10 minutes ago. Now you think you're going to heal yourself? What are you, nuts? You're no master. You're just, a common, sinful, human being that thinks less of themselves, and that's okay. We'll just stay there and everything's fine. If you stay there, the chances you opening your heart up so that you can receive the abundance, to be able to feel and sense the energies that are coming in to assist you to shift the energetic value, the vibration of the cells that are vibrating in a very low density, which is why you might be ill, which is why you might be stuck in thought, which is why your emotions might be hitting you really hard. If you're not able to be open in your heart space to accept these things that are coming in, the chances of healing to take place are very small. I'm not going to say a miracle can't take place. In fact, none of them are miracles per se. But the point is that for it to happen in a body, in a emotional body, in a mental body that is still stuck in more than 51% of its low density is very difficult. So that being said, I'm going to move on to share with you, if you are open, what might happen. So the work up to this point is to be as clear in awareness, in consciousness, in faith, in humility, to understand that I have an opportunity here to heal myself in whatever capacity the universe will assist me in, that it's possible. And that can only happen when the ego, the mind, is in a still place. It can't be speaking. It can't be loud. It can't be even in your present moment. There must be some sense of silence within your heart space to be able to feel and sense the energies coming in. Any kind of distractions will take you away from it. So that's up to this point. So, any questions, Bill, so far that you want to throw in there before I move on to the next?
Well, thank you.
area?
But yeah, my comment is that this is not a video to start with, because you have said many things that relate to the groundwork for this and the fundamentals and the understandings and the mechanisms, etc., and the concepts that lead to being able to really take advantage of what you're sharing right now. That so it would be wise for any listener to go back and refresh themselves on some of these deeper topics, because they're not simple. How you release energy. I mean, on and on and on. I don't have to go into the details, but this is about, we could call this not healing 101, but this is inner work about 505, because there are many things that need to get established and understood and perceived and felt in order to take advantage of what Tomei is going to say right now.
Yeah. And to follow that up, you guys, it's not about that nobody is worthy of this, and it's not about that nobody can get there. It's about you taking commitment within yourself in knowing yourself. Nobody can tell you you're ready. Only you can tell you you're ready. And if your ego comes in and tries to create some kind of spiritual arrogance around this, oh, I'm a healer, or I can do this now because I know that I've released all these things, that right there would tell you you're not ready. And if you do try something, I'm going to suggest to you, you're probably not going to do it. You're probably going to fail. And when you fail, the ego is going to be standing there right away, waiting to judge you and telling you, see, look in the mirror. You're a loser. You can't do this. And unfortunately, we'll buy into it. It's not true. It was just too soon to try something like this. Until you can open your heart sufficiently to feel energies coming in. Just energies coming in. And trust that you're feeling energies coming in. And know you're having energies coming in. Now you're at a place where all of a sudden you'll feel humble. And you'll feel like, wow, this is so amazing that I'm able to do this. Not from an arrogant place, but from a place of humility and joy and gratitude to be able to feel and sense that these things are coming in. And so that's the only time that you will know. It's not a gratitude or a humility based on definition. It's a feeling and a sense that you have within yourself. And so when that time comes, that is finally the door opening. And so when the door opens to these kind of possibilities, the next step is to be centered, to be in the present moment as much as possible. And if your ego is still working at you. It's going to try and take you out of that with as many distractions as it can. So it might take you a little while to calm things down. We know how the breath works. We've talked about that before. I just worked with somebody the other day. They took 2 breaths. Their mind was going crazy. I said, okay, let's just stop for a second. Let's just take 2 breaths. Close your eyes. Focus on your breath. Take 2 inhales. Take 1 inhale. Feel the inhale coming in. Feel the exhale going out. Let's just do another one. Go a little slower. Let it come out. And when I came back to them, I said, okay, so did you think about any of that stuff while you were breathing? No. Silence pervaded because the focus on the breath was present and nothing else. And so to come back to the present moment, sometimes we have to just settle ourselves somehow and be in the present moment and breathe a little bit for a while until we get a sense of like, I'm in my heart space now. And you can place your hands on your heart space to enhance that feeling so that you really can get a sense like, okay, I really am here. Oh, here comes my mind coming in. That's okay. You can come in, but no, this is where I want to be. And so as I come into my heart space, that opens the door to the infinite abundance and to the infinite possibility. And the reason it does is because inside the heart space, and we're going to talk about this in another podcast at some point, we hold within ourselves a divine spark. We call it divine intelligence. That divine intelligence is already there. When I slow everything down, when I go into silence in some way, and again, I'll preface this by saying it's your silence. It's not a defined silence. Like somebody might might call me and say, "What kind of silence are you talking about? Can you tell me what that looks like? You know, what is your silence?" There isn't no definition. It's what you feel. It's what you sense, and everybody senses it differently. But you know you're in it, and so be careful that somebody says, "Well, here's how you do step one, going to silence." I'm just presenting to you, our breath is always the best way just to slow everything down so you can get that sense of silence within yourself. So once we get that silence within ourselves, the opportunity to finally be with that divine sparks becomes available. Within that divine intelligence, that divine spark, is a what you would call the feminine aspect. And the feminine aspect in a lot of mystery schools is consciousness itself, because divine intelligence sends, let's call it a divine idea into consciousness, and then consciousness wraps itself around it and starts creating. And so you have, let's say, the father essence with his, which is divine intelligence, combining itself with divine feminine, which is consciousness, and then the creation process begins. And so all of that is happening in the heart space. And when that happens, when there's a connection as such, a feeling of how that feels to you comes to you. Some people say, you know, their skin starts, getting a little itchy or something, or, you have that sparkly feeling inside yourself, or, you get goosebumps. Any number of things like that can happen, and it can signal to you that something's happening and you're feeling it and you're sensing it. Be careful to go to your mind right away, because as soon as you start thinking about it, it's going to go away. So it takes a little training within yourself to continue this process and make sure you're staying present with what's going on. Now, as that feeling takes place, all of a sudden, you're sending that feeling out through the heart space, up through the crown chakra. So it moves up the ladder, you might say, out the crown chakra and out into the universe to be experienced by all things. Because consciousness is all things. Consciousness is infinite possibility. Consciousness is infinite abundance. So as you send as a human being, soul, divine essence that's different than somebody else's, you're sending the universe as, this is what I wish to feel. And if it's been projected based upon, let's call it a physical aspect, so I'm having a liver transplant tomorrow. Can I feel like what I wish to feel after the surgery is over? Can I envision within my heart space where divine intelligence and divine feminine have come together? I can feel the sense of it because I've already gone in with a pure intent of trying to feel what it's going to be like in my surgery and see the surgery being performed perfectly and me smiling when it's all over, me feeling so much better. You have just created the envelope that's going to proceed. The universe is going to make it happen because the energy is now going to come in from infinite abundance that will assist the cells to produce the benevolence that will heal the liver. If you don't trust that, if you don't have faith in that, not going to happen. Not going to happen. One of the things that Yeshua did when he walked around on his journey is he would tell everybody that I did not heal you. Your faith healed you. Your faith healed you. You knew this could happen. That knowing was not a mind driven knowing, it was a heart driven knowing, a feeling that he could be the vehicle for me to heal myself. I know he could do that for me. And he would open himself up, and the energies would come in through him and into the other person, and the healing would take place. In some cases, it was energetic, as far as an energy that might have taken over somebody's body that was very dense and very heavy, and the person kept welcoming it in until it could be released. It could have been a physical healing that had to take place. It could be a way of thinking that was taking place. Any number of things. It could be your energetic body was off kilter, so it had to be balanced once again. It's any number of things can happen, infinite amount of possibility. Healing is something that we've been carrying forever. We all have this. It's just that we've been so trained into believing that it's not possible because we are sinners, or we don't carry the mastership like others supposedly do that are walking around the planet right now. Those that I'm going to suggest to you, those that call themselves healers, be careful, because they're owning it for themselves and they're trying to create a following, possibly, or to make money, or to look at themselves in a higher way instead of just sharing what they know and how they feel and what they can do for you. So you got to be careful about that. Understand that you are the healer, always for yourself. However you project things in the world, they come back to you. This is no different. This is basically the same understanding, is that how I feel inside is what I project into the world. Well, you're projecting in the world, but you're also projecting in the universe. And the universe says, if Tomei wishes to feel bad, well, he just wishes to feel bad. We love him unconditionally, no conditions. That we will assist him to feel bad. And they're just complimenting you. They love you completely. So if you want to act a certain way, and it's not really one of the best ways we can be as a human being, then the universe will help you do that more and more. It's your choice. It's your soul's choice to be what they want to be. So understand that you hold this kind of empowerment. You are very, very strong. Very, very strong. And you hold one of the greatest gifts you could ever been given, and that's the divine spark that you hold within your heart space.
So I'd like to,
yeah, I'm just going to
yeah,
end
I'd
this for
like,
now so you can ask questions if you have to.
oh, thank you. I'd like to tie together two or three things that are happening in other conversations I've had here with folks, other interviews, and skip way outside for the first part. Greg Braden, with whom I happen to agree on this issue very strongly, says that the strongest internal capacity we have as physical beings is self-regulation.
Yes.
Self-regulation is that we can regulate our biological processes. We
Correct.
can, now this is exactly what Dr. Matulich and what Alistair Hawkes are talking about. We control our breathing. We
Mhm.
can control our heartbeat. We can control the quality of
Mhm.
energy that we're projecting in our bodies. Now, if we
Correct.
can, so the chain reaction here is, well, if we can self-regulate, and we can self-regulate key biological processes, we can, and now if we skip to the work of Bruce Lipton, we can flood our body with positive energy. And it's the positive energy that the cells are going to respond to. And the
Mhm.
cells will help us and precipitate healing.
Mhm.
Therefore, the
They
self,
will, you know, I want to be careful here though with this,
okay, go
two
ahead.
things, okay? First of all, I'd rather use the understanding that the cells then are able to receive higher frequency energy
Yes, okay.
instead of positive. Because if we go back to positive, then we're
Ah,
talking about
all right.
the negative, you know, dualistic. This isn't dualistic. When the energies are coming in the infinite abundance and the infinite potential, yes, we have self-regulation to be able to open ourselves up to it and receive it. And as we open ourselves up to it and receive it, um, the cells will react in their benevolent self in whatever way that is. However, we have to then also say for the best of all. Because if
Thank
we
you.
attach an outcome to it, like, well, then they'll heal. That's why I say you got to be a little careful with this, because if I attach an outcome to it, the chances are it's not going to happen. If I can just say this is how I wish to feel, and I surrender to you, and allow me to have the awareness to make whatever changes or choices I have to make to assist and be the participant in the process. And so when we are healing ourselves, for instance, so if we go back to what you experienced with your stroke, you asked if we could do the process. And of course, I said, of course we can. And you had faith in that. I'm going to suggest that what you were feeling is what you wish to have from an infinite abundance, what it would feel like. There wasn't a attachment to it. It wasn't a has to be. It was the best for all. If the best for all is for me to heal this, then let me be a participant and show me anything else I must do. What's best for all when Yeshua was healing people was already known in the moment. And in the moment, he could say to somebody, if it wasn't best for all for this person to be healed, because this person it required they're so required them to go through the process a little bit longer, so they could either interact with somebody else, learn something else more for themselves, and that sort of thing, instead of having something happen in the moment. And he knew that because he could feel it, and he had a kind of a unique way of just blessing the person, and send them on their way as such. And then in some cases, the best of all was to have that healing take place, because then people knew it was possible. So it's almost like the person chose to be a guinea pig in some way and say, I'm gonna, all of a sudden I run into this guy, I know who he is. Oh, please heal me. And Yeshua, this is one of his first healings, maybe to show the apostles or other people that the possibility of you healing yourself is available to you. So it's the best for all. We don't know what's best for all. We don't know. If we say we do, then we're making an attachment to an outcome. What we know is that we have the connection. What we know is we have self-regulation, like she was talking about. Without even thinking, we have self-regulation. There's parts of our system that just automatically functions on its own, and we're not even conscious that it's functioning on its own. So we have that too. But what we're saying here is we're trying to say you do have the capacity to step away from just that alone and begin the process of actually healing yourself in any given moment, um, as far as what is the best for all. And this is where the healing, to me, this is where the shift takes place. If I truly do surrender myself and say, if this is the best for me and for all, then allow myself to feel this, and you surrender it, and you just know that maybe it'll come at some point. And you're going to know when it comes, because the feeling that you just projected out to the universe is going to show up. And you're going to say, wow, here it is. The feeling of you being like you were before you went into your stroke, my suggestion is that's what you were looking for. You knew that.
In the process, for our audience, in the process of what you did with me, with obviously my cooperation, resonance, etc.
Absolutely can't do without it.
What I felt was that whatever you were doing, I could align with it. I could absolutely,
Yes.
energetically align with, accept, and resonate with whatever that was going to be that unfolded.
Correct.
That was my thought. It wasn't necessarily about, okay, well, I'll be back skiing here in no time. It,
Yeah, no, that's not
no,
that.
it
No.
was not that. It was that, yes, okay, I understand what this source of energy is, and yes, I will align myself to it. And
And so
let,
that,
yes,
yeah,
go ahead, please.
no, that's okay. And that's the acceptance is the allowance and the surrender. So when I surrender myself to it, and this is kind of an authentic surrender, it's a surrender with humility, knowing that this is a higher part of me, or an energy coming in to connect with a higher part of me, and I'm going to allow it to come in and surrender to it. And whatever the result is, it will be the best for all, no matter what shows up. I don't attach what it's supposed to be. I just allow myself to be with it. And to have a healing take place, this is what it takes. And so it takes a lot of work. And again, I go back to what we started with in the beginning of this podcast, is that if you're not open, it can't take place. You won't feel the energies coming in. You just won't, because the blockages are there, and they'll come in and leave. You know, some people say, well, I had a download. And some people say, what are you talking about? I just had a download. Didn't you feel it? They can't. They didn't even know what they're talking about because the blockage is stopping the download from it goes in somebody and goes out. They don't even know it passed through them. And then there's somebody else who's been doing the work and is open. Is, oh my gosh, I'm just like vibrating. And you're feeling it. And it's not that you're trying to prove you're something. It's just that you're open. So the energies are coming in. And you're trying to share that I'm feeling them. So if you're blocked, you know if you're blocked. If you're judging all the time, I'm sorry, you're blocked. If you're looking at things always from the cup half empty, you might say, you're blocked. If the world's a terrible place, you're blocked. You're not looking at the world in a great place. You're just always looking at it in a terrible place. Our society right now is filled with chaos. It's difficult to look into the chaos and say, I can heal from the chaos. And somebody said, what? You can heal from the chaos. Once you be with the chaos, you can use it to go higher in frequency, because you're being with something that you know is bringing you down. So therefore, you look at it and say, well, thank you for showing me the depth of the darkness, or the depth of the energy that you're bringing me down in, so that I can rise above that, which is higher than you were before. So you might come back and say, wow, I'm in gratitude for what happened. Somebody say, what, are you crazy? And most people think you are, but it's a gift. The chaos is a gift for us to finally break through into a higher place instead of staying stagnant like we've been. You can either use it that way or not. It's the choice for every single soul. It's the same in the healing. You can either look at yourself and recognize what's going on and go past it, and then open yourself up so you have the opportunity to see things with more clarity, to be able to recognize energies like you did during that one healing, to be able to be more present. We talked about beings in energies and so on, and how to recognize those. Again, it was all vibration, it was all energy. I have to have my heart open to do that. And so all of this kind of comes together in the same way, only there's different aspects of it that we can start looking at. You know, some people are clairvoyant, some people are clairaudient, some people are, you know, whatever. And so those gifts start coming out the more you go deeper into your heart, because they've always been there. It's not like this is something you have to go get, you know. I think we said once, there's no there. It's already there. It's just a matter of opening up what you always hold within yourself. And it's to own your own mastership, own your own abilities and gifts that you have. And I'm going to tell you, one of them is healing yourself. And sometimes it's not about healing what's going on. So let's say somebody has cancer. One of the greatest gifts that somebody in our community gave us before she left, it was a woman named Carolyn, and she had lost her husband in a terrible accident. And about 2 years, I think it's about 2 or 3 years afterwards, she had been going through some stresses in her life a little bit, and she got cancer. And I would say that cancer probably was sitting there just like it is in all of us. And it was too much for her to bear to lose her partner. And she actually even tried to she bought a puppy or got a puppy and tried to have that take the place. And she still had the cancer, and it kept getting worse and worse in some respects. She kept losing weight and doing the chemo and so on. But she also did a lot of this work. And as she was doing a lot of this work, what came in and what she showed us was an incredible joy of being in life at this point, even though she had the cancer. There was this incredible joy. If you ever walked in and sat next to her, the energy just projected out of her. And she was so happy. Even though she was carrying this burden, it didn't matter. The gift she gave us was this is how you walk your walk when you have a burden you have to carry that you cannot release because you're not supposed to release it. You can still be in a higher state of energy and still carry the burden with you in joy and affect others in a way that they feel this somewhat unconditional love, you might call it, this projection of humility and beauty, and still wanting to serve, still wanting to help whoever would come along. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. I couldn't wait for her to come over.
Yeah, in the workshop we had a year and a half ago together when I came to Colorado,
Yeah.
I in fact sat on the couch next to her for 2
Yeah.
days and would never have known that she was in any kind of physical distress or had any kind of issue or problem, etc. I mean, she was as open and sparkly as anybody you'd ever want to meet.
Probably more.
And when when you sent out the email, saying, and this was obviously sometime later, that she had cancer, and that would we please, but send her energy and pray for her. It's like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely hard to believe. Hard to believe.
And so it's a great gift that she gave us, is that, whatever burden you have, you can carry it in lightness, in a very light way of being in the world. And not, I think even Yeshua said, don't let your right hand know what your left hand's doing. Don't let people know what you're doing to serve other people. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. And they'll never know your burden unless you tell them. And if you tell them, then you're looking for some kind of need to be met. like, can you feel sorry for me, or can you help me? That sort of thing. And instead, you walk around with this ambiance of just being here. I'm here to serve in whatever way I can. I have this energy inside of me, and I just want to share it. And this is what she did. It was incredibly beautiful to me. Um, and we'd always do a little bit of a healing for her after everybody left. Um, and just a lot more energy to come in, and she could feel it. It was amazing what she could feel. And she never once said, okay, maybe now I'll be healed of cancer. Never, ever. Did she ever say, you know, I need to be healed from this cancer? Ever. She just enjoyed the process the whole time. And so no blockages in that woman, none. She felt everything, and she projected what she felt. And if the attachment to the outcome would have been there, it probably wouldn't have been as strong. And it didn't matter to her whether she would stay or go. I got a feeling in some cases what we're always told is that we don't die anyway. We just move on to another dimension and either stay there or come back. And so if we don't die, then there's no fear. If there's no fear, then this is what shows up. I mean, when there's no fear, this light just turns on. And it doesn't matter what ends up happening at any given moment. I'm just going to be present, and I'm going to do the best I can to connect. We're asking you to do that with yourself. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. What takes place here is to take the onus and the commitment to be the best that you can be for all concerned. For you to be the best that you can be for all. And we don't need to know what that means as far as for all. We don't know what can happen if I continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper into my heart space and project more and more out, how that affects the all. We don't know, and it doesn't matter. That's the whole point. The gift is that I keep going and I don't stop. And I could heal myself, or maybe because of my own incapable way of being in the world physically, that somebody can see this light that projects out of me and they're like, how can you be so happy about life? Look at you. How can you be happy about your spinal cord, or sitting in the chair? How can you be happy about how disfigured you are? How can you be happy about that you only have one arm? How can you be happy about that? If you talk to some of these people that are in that place, they're like, I'm just happy to be here. I don't need to have it be anyway. I'm just here, and I'm happy to be here, and I want to be here. And so their gift is to say, nothing is going to stop me that's outwardly on me. Outwardly on me is just my physical body. That's all it is. The inside is what's important. I continue to work on my heart space, even though I have these disabilities. It doesn't matter, because the energy that I'm projecting is coming from here, not from my disability. It's difficult for any one of us who are okay in our life. Why should I do this work? I've got all these things. I've got family. I've got, a house, and I've got money and all this sort of things. And that's great. It's not to say you shouldn't have those things. But if you're attached to those things, what we're talking about tonight will never happen. It'll never happen because you're attached to the outside world. Healing takes place inside, not outside. Sure enough, you can go to hospital and have an operation and have things taken care of you. And sometimes you have to, because you can't heal certain things. It's not possible. Sometimes science has to come in and put things together first, but then the healing process can begin. And sometimes, there's things that you can do that most people wouldn't understand, but it comes from inside. It's not something that's outside. As we tap into some of these energies and start talking about some of the other things that we have in some other podcasts, And this opens the door to understand that these healing processes that you hold can be used to assist another person. That doesn't mean you heal them. That just means that you can assist in their own healing if they believe in that, if they have faith in that. But you must be healed within yourself first. And I can't stress that enough. To think that all of a sudden you read a book on it, that you can do the 10-step program or something of healing from some mystery school, not a chance. Not going to work. All has to become from the heart. Everything has to be connected in your whole energetic body. You know, all the vortexes in your body must be at a high pitch. They must be functioning at a high level of vibration. The energetic body you have around you, your aura field, I'm sure you guys have heard of that, must be clean and clear so that the messages that are coming in are high frequency messages. You'll be able to discern that for yourself, what it is. That's because there's no blockages again. So it's very, very difficult to do this, but there's a simple process. We always try to come back to simplicity, right, Bill?
Yes, indeed.
The simplicity of this is to be in your heart. It's about as simple as I can make it. And you're the only one that knows you are. And the more that you are, the deeper you go, and there's never an end to it. There isn't this like, okay, you know, I can feel I'm in my heart space 75%. Well, that's good. But why would you stop there if that were the case? It's like there's never an end as we stay here to feel this the bliss and the sense of being in your heart space where divine intelligence, divine consciousness, and feminine is waiting for you to explore the gifts that you have. That's the simple journey, is to go there. So
Well, we're culturally conditioned to think that the brain runs everything.
mhm.
And the biggest of all paradigm shifts is away from that thought to the power and the coherence of what's in the heart, because
Correct.
the heart is inherently coherent.
Correct.
The brain, if it deals with, if our brain deals with and tries to understand and make sense of all the stuff going on out there in the world, etc., it will never come into a state of coherence. Okay? The heart inherently the heart is inherently coherent.
Correct.
Okay? And making that shift from, I'll figure it out, I'll analyze it, I'll do it myself. I mean, the whole
Right.
routine that typically males go through,
Mhm.
um, and coming down here, it's it's immense. It's
Yeah.
the difference in how you respond rather than react to what's out there is
Mhm.
enormous.
And you know, we've talked about heart math before to understand that the work they've done so far about heart brain coherence, and we talked about global coherence and community coherence and individual coherence and so on, and to understand that this expands outwardly from inwardly. It's like first I become coherent within myself, using all the gifts that I can find within my heart space that I share. And as that coherence uh, rings through my whole body, energetically as well as physically, and through the three bodies, which then shift, that coherence then begins to go out to the community, and the community then has a coherence that's available to them if they so choose to accept. And then, of course, then communities get together, and all of a sudden we're having kind of a global coherence. And so, you know, when some people say, well, how can I make a difference? You can make an enormous difference in this world as we have right now by just finding your own coherence, just allowing yourself to let your heart guide you, um, and understand that there isn't any process per se. There isn't a process per se. And most people want that. They want some kind of definition or some kind of equation. And there isn't one. I was told once when I first started this a long time ago, as far as working on myself, there is no logic in spirituality. What? There is no logic whatsoever in spirituality. There is openness in spirituality, but there is no logic to it. And so that scares pragmatic people. That scares people that have been programmed and trained, as Bill was saying, to think from the mind only, where everything has to fit into a certain, description, definition, equation. There has to be a linear way of looking at things. There has to be a hierarchy. There has to be all these things that society tells us, that educators tell us, that our parents tell us, that our religions tell us. It's all defined and logical, makes sense in a lot of ways. If you leave all that behind and open yourself up, you're afraid, fear, you're afraid you're going to be cast out. You're afraid people think that you're going to be a loner and you're crazy. And yet, if you really look at it and understand that their logic is holding them back from living life, because they're closed down to only one way of thinking, they're not open to other possibilities, infinite possibilities, infinite abundance. No, there isn't that. There's only one way of doing something. There's only one way of thinking. There is only one way the equation works. That doesn't work. Not in spirituality, not in metaphysics, not in the mystery schools, because we are taught that we're leaving that behind. It's still going to be with us. It's not going anywhere. It will be a part of us. When we become open in the heart, there's still pragmatic in the heart. There's still logic and equations in the heart. There's still definitions, but there's an infinite amount of things more. It's not just that. And so because it's not just that, then there's a fear that comes in. Because it's like you're tearing yourself away from everything that you knew. They call that dying unto yourself. We've talked about that in the podcast as well. Then until you die unto the definition of who you think you are, you will not open up to coherence, because it's an opening. It's the opening to accept anything that comes in and experience it, versus saying, no, I'm only making these choices. This is difficult without question, because we're so trained into something that's the opposite of what we're used to, what we are used to, as opposed to what we're looking at. To think that you're a healer, I know that's so far-fetched. Again, I'm trying to explain to you that you really aren't. You're your own healer, but we have no other words to put to it right now. You're your own healer. To think that you actually have the ability to do that, your thinking brain and your ego is going to really come down on you hard and say, who do you think you are, God? Whoa. I'm going to say, guess what? You are. When I say divine intelligence and divine consciousness, divine feminine, that's as close as we can very come to an understanding, if you want to call it that, of what that might be, of what source might be. But you know what? It's beyond that. Divine intelligence, divine feminine, divine consciousness, all that put together is what came after source, in whatever way that might mean. I don't know. I just know the feeling inside myself as I keep going expands more and more all the time. I sometimes can feel somewhat that it's more of an intelligence feeling. Sometimes it's more of a feminine creative feeling. I do know when I'm receiving something that is more than I felt before. So I know there's another piece of infinite, consciousness or infinite abundance that I get to experience. There are those feelings, but if there's any blockages, no, there's no chance. Absolutely none. So I invite you to look at these things. It doesn't mean, after looking at one podcast like this, that you're going to find what you have inside. There's a possibility you could, obviously, infinite possibilities. But you don't want to fool yourself into believing something in your mind about that, as opposed to going into your heart and feeling it. Um, this could transmute somebody instantaneously, and then also it might get somebody on the road to start educating themselves as to how this all works as well. Because again, as Bill and I have shared with you guys in various podcasts, there's some books you can read and some understandings about what was really happening over all these centuries within various communities who are written about with some incredible qualities and opportunities to use energies in ways that nobody can comprehend today. And there's a truth to that. All you got to do is look at Egypt and look at the pyramids, and nobody can figure out how the hell they could have built those things because we couldn't do it today. So how did they do it? Could be energy. Could be they knew how to bring energies in to lift those rocks with their fingertips. I wouldn't doubt it. I can't verify it because I wasn't there at that time, and if I was, maybe I could show you the way, but then I don't know.
I thought you were the construction supervisor. Gee whiz.
Yeah. Well, if that were the case, I could have built one here, I think, but I don't. That would have been fun.
I'd like to share one thing briefly as we come to a close in this session. I spent somewhere between 20 to, excuse me, I'll start over. I spent somewhere between 10 and 15 years trying to analyze to death my spiritual growth and all of the factors and how all of these ascended beings, which one worked with me, which way, and which one the other, and which one was activating this strand of my DNA, so a day came when I was at a workshop with Dr. Matulich, who Tomei has talked about in his sessions. And I was outside at this sort of this energy circle that I had created out there in her property so that I had some way to entertain myself. And I was going through this process and communicating with all these beings and all this stuff, and it stopped like that. Just bam. And I felt nothing, and there was no resonance, etc. And this voice said, "You're making it too complicated.
Yeah. Oh,
Just,
not
just,
Bill.
just forget it."
Yeah.
And that was such a turning point. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay. And I went in the house. This was during a workshop that she was doing. And finally there was time for me to be on the computer, etc. with, and
Oh, right. Yeah.
she basically shared this one simple little secret thing with me. One secret, simple thing. Okay. And I went in and I did it. One simple thing. And I had the most transformative experience in my physical body and what my body could do that
Mhm.
I've ever had. It was
Yeah.
astonishing. But
Yeah.
I was trying to analyze it to death
Yeah.
and dead end street. Absolutely a dead end street.
And and you bring up a good point again to end this with is we're always having to be aware of our analytical mind because anytime we're getting off into, I guess we'll call it spirituality just because that's the word we can use at this point, but anytime we're getting off into the non-pragmatic world, maybe that's another way of looking at it, the illogical world. The mind wants to drag us back. The ego wants to drag us back into some kind of analyzation of what this is and what that is and so on. And then it gets us excited to share with everybody else what we found and how we analyzed it and how we tore it apart and how it showed up and all this kind of stuff. And that's our ego just trying to make us feel like we really know what the hell we're talking about until you have an experience and everything gets taken away from you like you did. And you realize, what the hell? I thought I had this figured out. I guess I better start figuring it out differently then. It's like you don't even learn to listen
Oh,
to
no,
or,
no.
it's just amazing how quickly that mind wants to analyze everything. And what I want to share with everybody before we close is that when your ego comes in after a judgment, that's where the analyzation starts. It's not the analyzation that you're judging this thing, whatever it might be. As soon as you judge it, there's going to be verification of your judgment. There's going to be a story of how you're right about the judgment that you're making. And if you can capture that before it gets to the final chapter, because it could go on for days. Somebody did something to you, your brother did something to you, and I'm never going to talk to him again. And then you tell your next friend about it, and then you tell your spouse about it. And then tomorrow, oh my God, I got my coworkers I can talk about it. And so the story then becomes not just the thing that happened, but all the other things that went with it that really didn't. And then the stuff in the past that happened, and that's why he did it again. And boom, this big Hiroshima cloud goes over top of the whole thing. And all he did was say, Bill, how you doing today? And it triggered you into some other story. And this analyzation thing just goes off into the distance. Can you stop it before chapter 1 starts? Can you stop it at the cover of the book instead of letting it go? Because if you can, that's going to be a great tool for you. And the reason I say that is because there's a feeling and the sensation of when that comes in. You know when it happens. And since you know when it happens, when you're doing this other work and it tries to draw you back, oh, wait a minute, I'm analyzing this now. Let me take a few breaths so I can be with it. I don't need to analyze it. It's all been taken care of. I don't have to say, well, I know it better than somebody else. It's the same thing. Somebody else is experiencing, they're only lovingly experiencing different than you because of their soul. And so I don't have to analyze anything. I can just be with everything. That's not our world. Our world is built on analyzation and judgment. That's what it's built on. How can you shift that? And that's maybe another topic for another time. But the point is, if you can get away from the analyzation of how your healing is going, if you can be just with it as opposed to analyzing it so that you can share it with somebody later, you've got it. If the analyzation takes off, you will be looking at an attachment to an outcome because you're going to be talking about how this is where it's going to go. So you'll be attached to where it's going to go. You don't know where it's going to go, to be honest with you. And you're not supposed to. You're supposed to have faith. You're supposed to have trust. You're supposed to have humility and compassion for yourself. That's the qualities of healing and how it can just take its own course. And I surrender to it in gratitude for it in any way it shows up. And
wow. Yeah.
Let it go. Talk about other subjects.
No, thank you. What a lesson for us to consider. Okay, what an incredible message. Thank you. As in every one of these sessions, it comes from the heart, absolutely from the heart. And that's why it rings so true. That's why the resonance of it is so authentic and deep. Homay, thank you.
Thank you. It's been great. Thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate it.
We'll see you in the next one. There's bound to be a next one because there's a lot more shit to share in this mosaic of wonderful resonance. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Audience, thank you, and see you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.